Good evening, everyone. Could we please rise for the prayer? Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Council Samaras.
Present. Here.
Council Belanger.
Here.
Mayor Elliott.
Here.
Council Kennedy.
Here.
Council Leahy.
Here.
Council Martin.
Here.
Council Mercia.
Here.
Council Milonazo.
Here.
Council Rourke.
Here.
It's 9 present.
9 present. Chair would like to recognize Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Your Honor. No, I would just like to thank the city manager, the mayor, and the chief of police for calling the press conference right after the terrible shooting that occurred in Lowell. Too often we make assumptions that the public knows what's going on, but I think by having that press conference right after to explain what was taking place, what steps were being taken to assure that streets are safe, was well received. I'm relatively new to this particular position, but it's the first time I could say a number of people came up to me to say, thank you for what's going on. We got the information and we're pleased with that. And I just think that we have to make sure that we do those things in the future. That continues, that we keep our public informed as to what's going on. Lowell is a safe city. We want to make it the safest city in New England. But again, I want to commend the mayor, city manager, and the chief of police for taking very quick action. Thank you.
Okay, point of privilege by Councilor Samaras. Accepted. Further discussion? Thank you, Councilor. If there's no objection, I'd like to request a suspension of the rules to offer a citation to the Merrimack Repertory Theater. I had meant to put it on the agenda, and it was an oversight. So motion to suspend by Council Belanger, seconded by Council Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. If I could have Elizabeth come to the podium. Thank you for coming. On behalf of the city, we'd like to recognize the Merrimack Repertory Theater on its 35th anniversary. And myself, I was in attendance with the city manager and Councilor Leahy as well to celebrate 35 years of the 35th anniversary. And in light of that, the city would like to offer a citation to the theater. Be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby congratulates the Merrimack Repertory Theater on its 35th anniversary. The city is honored that after 35 years in business, the MRT continues to be the only nonprofit professional theater serving Greater Lowell and its surrounding region. It is just one of 3 League of Resident Theaters in Massachusetts and 8 in New England, with its facility located in the Liberty Hall wing of the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. MRT's 7-play season is produced and presented from September through May, serving an audience of 40,000 people, including a stable base of 4,000 subscribers. Excuse me. This loyal audience has been built by the regular selection of contemporary plays, which titles that are largely unfamiliar to the majority of patrons. By placing an emphasis on the quality over size, the company intensified an existing commitment to contemporary and new work. This puts emphasis on the primary relationship in the theater, that which exists between outstanding actors and on an inquisitive and engaged audience. MRT is committed to striking a balance between artistic achievement and economic accessibility, producing exceptional works while offering a variety of discount programs for students, seniors, and underserved communities. Contemplating MRT's main stage programming are several education and outreach initiatives. MRT has contributed to the city's revitalization effort in their 35 years of existence by enhancing the arts and cultural experiences, which has led to the development of artist lofts, making Lowell a hub for artistic creativity for all nationalities. The entire city of Lowell extends its deepest wishes to the Merrimack Repertory Theater for continued success, and we thank you for making Lowell its home. Given on this 8th day of July, 2014, on behalf of all of my colleagues in government and myself, Rodney M. Elliott, the mayor of the city of Lowell. Congratulations on 35 wonderful years of productions.
Thank you. On behalf of the board and the staff at Merrimack Repertory Theater, I'd like to say thank you for this. Thank you to the mayor, to the city councilors, to the city manager for your generous support of MRT over the last 35 years, and hopefully 35 and many more. We're very grateful for the great relationship that we have with the city, and we're very proud to be based in Lowell. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. We will now proceed with the regularly scheduled agenda. Under the city clerk, we have the minutes of the city council meeting of June 24th for acceptance. Motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Leahy, seconded by Councilor Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. Councilor Leahy, did you want to be recognized?
Yes, thank you. I was trying to look up the numbers. I wanted to ask if we could have a suspension of the rules to, there's a few people here waiting, if we could take a couple of things out of order.
Motion by Councilor Leahy, seconded by Councilor Kennedy to suspend the rules and take an agenda item out of order. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, that motion carries. Which item is that, Councilor Leahy?
I forgot my glasses, so the vote about the parking on
Okay,
Father.
the motion that the mayor has put on regarding provide a report on the status of the missing plaque at Hunts Fall Bridge in an effort to locate its whereabouts.
That one and the vote for the parking on Father Morissette Boulevard, the
Okay.
agreement with UMass Lowell. I think it's 3-2,
Okay,
so those two items.
so we'll start with 8.10. If there's no objection, if there's no objection by my colleagues, I don't really have a lot to say, but there are speakers registered. So if I can just read the motion from the podium. Motion by myself, request city manager provide a report on the status of missing plaque at Hunts Fall Bridge in an effort to locate its whereabouts.
Second.
Second by Councilor Mercia. We have registered speakers, and I'd be willing to offer them to speak beforehand. Mr. Clerk?
Doug Sears.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's the first time coming before this august body in this wonderful place. When,
Excuse me, Mr. Speaker, could we just get your name and address for the
oh,
record?
yes, excuse me, Doug Sears, 80 Geiger Drive, Tewksbury, Massachusetts.
Mr. Selectman.
Former selectman, member of the Historical Society, and I'm speaking also as a distant relative of Samuel Hunt, who had his garrison house on the falls there, where he, I guess, was checking the accent of the Indians to see if there wasn't some French lilt to it at the time. And before the dam went up in Lawrence in 1918, that was a much more accessible crossing point. But we're here today talking really about memory. We've got notes here that are being taken to this meeting. We have all sorts of records. We do things which we think are important. We live our lives. And we'd like to think that some things do get remembered, and that when good folks get together and perhaps in a larger way put up a plaque to the Middlesex Canal and celebrating Hunts Falls and celebrating the Quinn family and the people and events in this town which are worthy of being remembered,
that more care is provided. Now, guaranteed anybody can go and steal something, and I would hope to think that this plaque was not taken and brought down to someone who would melt it down for, a few bucks. But it was a beautiful plaque. It had been there for a long period of time, commemorating. This was all Bill Ricca at one point in time. And Samuel Hunt, on the third try, he represented the Bill Ricca in the colonial legislature, had a town. He said it was too darn hot to walk to the first parish in Bill Ricca in the summertime, and it was too cold in the wintertime, and he wanted to have a special town built between Andover and Bill Ricca line, and Tewksbury came out in 1734. So this land also became Tewksbury, and then it became Lowell. And we need to remember these things of all our history, and we, just as much as we would like to have people remember what we're doing this evening and the rest of our lives. So George Kumentzelis, when he puts his laser-pointed attention onto something, does an awful lot of good stuff. He really learned how to do term papers in college and in high school quite well, and has focused on the powwow oak and on this. I will not steal any of his thunder, but I just think it's a shame that if in the city of Lowell, with a contractor building on a bridge, and we have this plaque that is there, that it can disappear off in the night, and nobody say, "Geez, I don't know, beats me. I don't know what happened to it." I think, okay, well, this is a tragedy for this, but what other things around here that haven't come up to the attention of a George that may also be slipping away? So this is just a general, I'll stop now, but it's a general concern I have for history, and particularly the history of right around here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sears.
George Kumentzelis.
Good evening. My name is George Kumentzelis, and I live at 241 Remington Street. And I will keep this very short. I know that I can get a little long sometimes trying to get my points across, but I've made all my points, so there's no reason to belabor the point. I just want to thank the Lowell City Council for addressing this issue. I think it's very important that we honor our history, that we not forget our veterans and our ancestors and founders, such as Mr. Quinn and Mr. Hunt, and that it's very important that we continue to be diligent and vigilant in this pursuit. I really want to thank the City Council for addressing this issue. I really want to thank you, Mayor Elliott, for bringing this forward in a timely manner. I did speak with Neil Donahue this evening on the phone, as well as Bill Gerber, the former president of the Massachusetts Canal Association. I left messages for the two ladies who were in the Lowell Sun on Sunday. And I called Rick Lee, who works for the concrete company on Phoenix Avenue by the post office, who was laying the concrete down on the sidewalk by the plaque where it was stolen. None of them could make it, but I assured Mr. Donahue that I would honor his good name and not allow him to be besmirched in this matter. He did everything in his power to save that plaque. He noticed that when it was just hanging there for a couple of weeks, and it was just low-hanging fruit ready to be picked, and he talked to the on-site inspectors. He called the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. He said, look, I have the means, the tools, the wherewithal to put this back and protect it. I can do that. What should I do? And they said, no, we don't know, just leave it alone. It's not part of the plan. He said, okay. So sure enough, the thieves came back 2.5, 3 weeks later, and they stole it. So I just wanted to clear his good name. He was very gracious to me when I spoke with him on the phone, and I promised him I would do that. Once again, I want to thank you for pursuing this issue. I hope that what I put in my conclusion, in my report, those suggestions that maybe we could take to, as Representative Dangle said, get to the bottom of this. And I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumentzelis. Motion to suspend the rules to allow other members of the public to
So
speak.
moved.
Motion by Council Mercia, second by Council Milonazo. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Could you please state your name and address for the
Hi,
record?
I'm Mary Beth Shanahan, and I live at 868 Mammoth Road, Dracut. The reason we're here tonight is because we'd like to ask the city to replace the plaque, but also we'd like you to have more name recognition for Mr. Holmes and my Uncle Tossie, if that's possible, when they do build a new plaque. My uncle was killed in World War II in Sicily, but his body was never, no matter how old you get when you talk about your family, huh? Anyway, his body was never recovered. My father, his brother, was always pretty proud of the fact that the bridge was named after him, and my father was a big Memorial Day guy. So if any way we could have the plaque built so that it recognizes Mr. Holmes and my uncle, that would be great. Okay, thank you.
Right then. Thank you very much, Mrs. Shanahan. Anyone else like to speak? You think you're all set? Okay, you're very welcome. Further discussion on the subject. I think everything, as a maker of the motion, has been stated. Mr. Manager, if you could work with DOT to find out the status and how we go about getting or having the state or the contractor, whoever responsible for that plaque, have it be replaced. That would be very much appreciated. Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, and we'll be in touch with you on the status of this. Mr. Kumatzelis, I'm sure, and Mr. Sears, I'm sure you'll be shoot us some emails and keep us on top of this. Thank you very much. Moving to, while we're still under suspension, item 3.2. Take first reading, Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the City of Lowell, in City Council, a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a lease agreement with the University of Massachusetts at Lowell for 125 parking spaces on Father Morissette Boulevard in the City of Lowell. Second reading. I'm going to read this. It's pretty lengthy. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Milonazo, second by Councilor Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries. Second reading by title. In City Council, a vote authorizing the city manager to execute a lease agreement with the University of Massachusetts at Lowell for 125 parking spaces on Father Morissette Boulevard in the City of Lowell. What is the wish of the body? Discussion by members of the council? Questions, Council Leahy?
Sure. Is there anybody here, or maybe through the manager, just to explain it? I did get a little bit of history on it, so I understand what's going on, but just so other councils may have a question.
There are representatives from UMass Lowell, or Mr. Manager, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, basically, we have Mr. Troop, who's the parking clerk, and we also have a representative of UMass Lowell. Basically, what we're doing is we are leasing to the University of Massachusetts Lowell 125 spaces along Father Morissette Boulevard. They will be available Monday through Friday for the University of Massachusetts at Lowell. This is really going to service their new building that they constructed at the top of Salem and Merrimack Street. So it's really going to be staff people that will be parking in these spots. So we believe that they will be parking from probably like 8 in the morning till 5 in the evening. So when there's a Spinners game, or when there's a event at the Songus Arena, it won't interfere with the parking along Father Morissette Boulevard for those spaces. The rate that we arrived at was negotiated with UMass Lowell, and it's tantamount to what they pay in the Ayotte Garage, $36 per month for each parking spot. We do have a 30-day opt-out in the contract, and so does UMass Lowell, just in case someone came in and offered us a higher rate. If we so thought it was responsible to do that, then we would be able to just notify them on 30 days' notice that we were terminated. We can either reduce the amount of spaces or we can terminate it altogether. I think it's a very reasonable contract with the university. It'll generate parking revenue that isn't being generated there right now, and I think it's a good. I think Mr. Troop and the University of Massachusetts Lowell did an excellent job negotiating the terms of the lease.
Further discussion? All set, Council Lee?
Yeah, I'm all set. I just didn't know if anybody had
Yeah.
questions. So
Co-
they'll be putting, I'm sorry, they'll just be putting a decal on their window and we'll
Yes.
know that they're, yeah, okay, thank you.
Council Belanger, then Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For starters, this is good news, for sure. I think we were headed for a pretty bad road up there on this boulevard. We've been watching this closely, and the revenue did not add up to what we all thought it would. Along that boulevard, it really has been no activity. On Cabot streets, speak the same, it's really not what we expected, to say the least. But in the course of I believe it's a 3-year lease, Mr. Manager, with an option for another 3, correct? Okay, well, in 3 years, we'll generate approximately $162,000, a far cry from the $2 million we invested there, but nonetheless, it's a good start. So I do have a few questions. So is it going to be, how are we going to identify university personnel and students? Is it going to be stickers, and what are we going to do with kiosks? If it's going to be paid for by stickers, are the kiosks going to remain? So how's that going to work? I guess through you, Mr. Mayor, to the parking director.
There'll be decals on the cars, and they can park at any of the parking spots all the way along Father Morissette Boulevard, all the way down to the Songus Arena.
All the way down to Songus Arena, okay.
But if somebody else pulls into a parking spot that's empty, they will pay through the kiosk. So there'll be a decal that identifies that they have the right to park in that
okay.
spot.
So visitors will still be able to use it, so the kiosks are going to remain, so it'll be almost mixed use, if you will. It still will generate some additional income on top of that?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that's good news. I
It won't
think...
be what they call nesting, is
Yeah.
that you won't set aside, 125 spots and say, these are only for UMass Lowell
Well,
employees.
right. That was my next question. Is there going to be signage saying for UMass only? Apparently not.
No,
So
no.
a sticker, they'll have a decal on their car, then we won't tag the cars, but visitors, another visit, will be able to park there and pay the kiosk. So that's additional revenue that will be generated as well, which, do we have any kind of projection what that might be is on top of this revenue, Mr. Manager?
Can I ask Mr. Troop, do you have any estimates on, it's kind of hard to estimate, it all depends on.
Right. I mean, if you look at the total revenue that's been generated at Father Morissette, it was less than expected. I would suppose that it's going to be about the same as we've accumulated so far. Again, it's not much. I know it's been disappointing. But
Okay.
it'll stay consistent. Plus, we've also added the event rate. Those won't be affected by this agreement.
Okay, well, due to the university's growth, this is a benefit for the city. Another question is that weekends will be obviously available to the public there. Well, Saturdays we don't really enforce, but they'll be there for neighborhood use, if you will, and Spinners ballpark games and other events as well.
Right, these are only from Monday through Friday. It's Monday at
Right.
12:01 a.m. till Friday at 11:59 p.m.
Okay. Well, I commend all those involved, Mr. Manager, you and your administration. I think this is a good start. It was not looking good up there. We still got a ways to go nonetheless. This is not an end-all up there, but good start, and congratulations. I think it's a good thing. Thank you.
Council Mercia?
That was basically my concerns with Corey already talked about. And I just want to thank UMass Lowell, because it's great to see that we're getting some revenue, and there's a purpose there after all. And if any of those UMass Lowell faculty ride bikes, that's even better, but just the same.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one question. Council Belanger asked you how much money was coming in, and you said not much. how much is not much?
The total so far that has been generated through the kiosks has been roughly $9,000 since the inception. We've also had 2 events out there that we've rented bags out there that has generated roughly $3,500. So it's been about $12,000 or so that's generated thus far.
Okay. And what were we expecting? What were the projections for, when first?
I can't remember. I know that we recognized demand, but unfortunately, the demand wasn't for the price that was set. UMass Lowell came to us and offered this hard deal that we can generate some specific incomes, some specific revenues that, like we said, is $54,000 per year.
I think at the time when we voted on this, the demand was supposed to be coming from the Warner-Lancet Mills, right?
Correct.
And did something happen at the Warner-Lancet Mills? That
They have access to the pass cards at the garage. They shifted to the AOT garage and are taking advantage of their pass card rate as well as the shuttle that Farley White and Warner-Lancet Mills provides to them.
And we just didn't figure on that when we made those projections?
No, they were parking on the streets. We figured that they would still park there, but that unfortunately wasn't the case.
How long have we had this in place? It's been quite a while, right? I mean, $9,000, that's a very low amount, isn't it?
Right, it was early fall of last year. They really weren't in place through the summer. They were commissioned in about September of last year. And then we had obviously the winter where people were in the garages and, and what have you. So, not $9,000 is obviously better than zero. It's not what we expected, but we've made as good a use, and we've tried to solicit agreements like this. In the meantime, we just had to find the right customer, and UMass Lowell stepped up for us.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Belanger?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. One quick question. For informational purposes, I believe the garage rate for a downtown resident or business rate is, I believe, $48 a month through you to Mr. Troop, I believe. Is that accurate?
Downtown resident, correct.
So $48 for a garage space, and they've, bundling, so to speak, are paying $36 per, say. So I think that's a fair rate for considering on-street parking. So I think that's the point that bears mentioning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Martin?
Thanks to Mr. Troop. I thought there had been some discussion at some point that the Warner-Lancet was interested in a similar deal to this. Did I just get that wrong, or is that not the case? They prefer to use the garage spaces than the on-street ones, or is it impossible to have 2 deals because this will take up most of the remaining demand?
They had preliminarily come up to us and said that they were interested in supplementing the spaces that they had in the garage, but they never gave a formal proposal. As I said, UMass Lowell stepped up and gave a formal proposal, and I hope that this is a springboard. We'll reapproach Farley White again.
So that's still possible?
Very possible.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Manager?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The amount of parking spots along Father Morissette Boulevard, is it 250?
In that whole general area, there's well over 300 spaces. That includes Father Morissette and the other streets out there.
So if another person came along that wanted a similar lease, we would be able to accommodate them?
Correct.
Good, good. So, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted, so there is space there that if someone needed to enter into a lease, we certainly have the capability and the desire to do that with them.
Further discussion on the motion? Motion to approve by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor O'Rourke. Roll call.
Councilor Samaras.
Yes.
Councilor Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilor Leahy.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Rourke.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas. Motion carries. Lease is approved.
Your Honor.
So, UMass Lowell, do you have anything that you wanted to share with us, or you're good? You're good? Okay. Let's see if you have questions. Councilor Leahy?
Just on a sort of a similar matter, when we bought all the kiosks and we put them throughout the city, I just wanted to mention that there's one kiosk in front of, if I could mention it to you to the manager, there's one kiosk in front of Post Office Lock. It was supposed to be moved like months ago, but they put it on the existing pad. Could we just make sure, it's right in front of a doorway of a business, and it was supposed to be moved, so if we could just follow up. You had nothing to do with it, you weren't here yet, but if we could just make sure that's still supposed to be moved, because the kiosk is there now, but.
Mr. Manager, Mr. Troop?
Unfortunately, that'll probably change soon, so,
Yeah.
but you seem eager to answer that question.
Exactly. We had to install it. We do have a
Right,
spot
right.
located, but in order to capitalize on the warranty, it had to be in the ground.
Right, but
I
we're still
approached-
gonna move it, right?
Correct. I approached the property owner and both business owners, and they were fine with the temporary installation, and there is a plan to move it up slightly. It's already marked and ready to go.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you. Reverting back to the original portion of the agenda,
Mr. Mayor,
Council Mercia?
since we're still under suspension, there is a young lady registered to speak on Councilor Belanger and our motion number 8.5 with respect to the water department exclude any liability to owners with estimated water readings longer than 2 years. And I said that we might be able to get her up.
No, absolutely. Well, we're still on this motion to stay under suspension by Council Samaras, seconded by Council Rourke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. There are no public hearings, so we're not exceeding the 7 o'clock. Motion by Council Belanger and Council Mercia, request the city manager have the water department exclude any liability to owners with estimated water readings longer than 2 years. Motion not requiring a second. Who's going first? Ladies?
Well, this is a motion that more or less to me speaks for itself. Councilor Belanger is in agreement with this, and so do I. I just want to tell you that there are many facets to this motion, and I was speaking to this young lady that just wanted to address the council. I thought it was very important what she had to tell me, and I'd like her to share it with this council. Thank you.
Kim McCready?
Hi, my name is Kim McCready. I live on Bruce Street in Littleton currently. I apologize, some of my dates and amounts are estimated because I didn't realize that I would be speaking tonight. So about March 17th, I purchased the home at 116 Princeton Boulevard. At that time, we got a water bill in hand, or water sewer bill in hand from the previous owner, approximately $350, which we paid. We also, at the closing, paid a small water lien that was on the house. Sometime in April, we were required to replace our water meter, which we did. It was removed from the house. Shortly thereafter, we received a water and sewer bill dating back 22 to 24 years. I don't have any paperwork in front of me, so I'm not sure exactly how many, but it was over 20 years old. It had been estimated for every single reading since then, and the bill was for $52,000. And that's my story.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you for being brave enough to be shocked into coming up to. Yeah, I didn't want to tell you you were on camera, but that's okay. You're on TV. But we saved that for after. But
You did a good job.
these are the stories I've heard time and time again. This is unbelievable. So this motion speaks for her situation where I can't say that she should go back all these years and be responsible for, number one, a bill that was not hers to begin with, and then to take this burden onto her. And Corey and I feel that anything over 2 years, I think the city owes some responsibility to this. That lady said it all. There's nothing more I can say that speaks for this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Belanger and then Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this one takes the cake here at $50,000. But nonetheless, this has been an ongoing issue here where, you know, in the water department, we had a plethora of issues, if you will, where we did, this department did not do its due diligence and go out and get actual water readings. We had overseers in the department on the computers that didn't want to address changes that had to be made, or either refused to do so or didn't want to do so and ignored them. So I don't think we can hold the homeowners 100% responsible here. I think it's wrong. I'm not saying they owe us nothing, but I think we should cap it. I really do. I don't think it's something that we can hold the homeowners accountable for when we did not do our due diligence. I'll say it again. So I think 2 years should be the cap. I think the motion speaks for itself. It's cut and dry. And then we can pursue it from there and maybe still hold hearings and go through the process that we going through at this point. But in the end, I don't want any homeowner or property owner to be responsible for more than 2 years, quite frankly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. Mr. Manager?
As I've stated at the previous meetings, we've taken every action to stop this from happening in the future. It's not happening anymore. With that said, we have on the agenda this evening a proposed ordinance to address these issues that we're going to be asking to be sent to the Finance Subcommittee, where it can be discussed, and then amendments such as this can be added to that ordinance so that we give the Water Board authority to do things such as this. We set out wide, in the proposed ordinance that we're going to send, we set out wide equitable relief that the Water Board can give to customers, but we also, if you are adamant that you want to make sure that it's capped at 2 years, I just suggest that you do that in the form of amendment and put it in the ordinance so that the Water Board isn't just going to have the option to do that, they must do that. So I think it's a good idea to refer it to the subcommittee when we get there,
Yes.
have a full discussion of it, and include any and all relief that the council wants in that water ordinance. But it will address these issues in full.
Council Leahy, then Council Martin.
Thank you. I just wanted to add that I know this is, like you said, this is going to come up again. We're going to discuss it, but we need to get an explanation through the solicitor's office also, too. I mean, just with her case, I don't see how you're responsible if you pass papers on a home and you pay the reading and then they change your water meter. I don't understand if the law can even go after you. I mean, that just seems ridiculous. So, you know, she shouldn't even have to pay back 2 years. I mean, you closed on the house, you paid it up to date, and we changed our equipment, and it's our loss.
Right. Thank you, Council. Council Martin?
Well, yeah, I mean, I read the ordinance, and I'm happy to have the discussion at the Finance Subcommittee, but I'd like to know how this happened, too. If it's just 22 years of estimates, that seems, you know, kind of odd. And then how many others are there like this? Because we've all had a few, I guess, incidents similar. This is the highest one I've heard of. But so I'm happy to have that discussion. We'll work on the ordinance, and I did review it, and I applaud the effort. But will that ordinance, if that's adopted, be available for this woman who spoke tonight?
Mr. Manager? Madam Solicitor?
As the manager had indicated at the outset, the ordinance as currently written does have broad equitable powers, but the idea behind this was to more narrowly address some of the issues that are coming up on a regular basis and really being able to give the board additional guidelines to follow when grappling with these issues. So arguably, yes, these are things that can be addressed by the current water board, and there may be other issues that they have to deal with other than just the facts that came before the council tonight.
I understand that, but this is one avenue that's going to be available to people who have a problem today. It's not just for problems that arise in the future.
Once the ordinance is
Right,
in
assuming
place.
it's passed.
Correct.
Yeah, after some discussion.
Yes.
But this case and others like it that have a dispute now, they don't, you know, they may have to wait for the ordinance to be adopted, but it's not just going to apply to future cases. It's going to apply to existing cases.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to be prospective.
Right.
We'll,
Okay.
she will be able to petition the Water Board for
Okay.
relief.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. This case is kind of extreme, and I suppose it's anecdotal, but there's been a lot of these cases. And at some point, it's not anecdotal anymore. And so is there any way, just to follow up on what I think Councilor Martin was getting to in his remarks, is there a way to find out exactly how much of this that there is? I mean, I think everybody's perplexed as to how this happened in the first place, but if there's one and if there's 6 and if there's 12 cases, then why can't there be 120 or 500 cases and so forth and so on? And is there a way to, for the water department to do a report or an audit or something to find out exactly how many cases like this there are?
Mr. Manager?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we actually did that, and I'll send that again to you. We sent out a report on how this happened and then the best practices to prevent it in the future, and it sets out the worst cases in the city. I'll send it out again to the city council. The issue with that was, bizarre as it may seem, what I learned throughout the whole thing is that they were actually, one individual was actually manipulating the bills. When they came in so high, that person would manipulate them so that they were lower, because he didn't want to send out a bill that was so high, so it just kept getting higher and higher, and the manipulation was to keep it low. Not benefiting himself or any member of his family, but just bizarre that the operation was done that way. So we've rectified that situation. We make sure that there is no manipulation, that they're actual readings. We have a water meter reader working on Saturdays so that there isn't an excuse that you can't get access to the premises anymore. But I will send that to you again, and you'll see some of the higher ones.
Well, I guess it isn't, what I'm asking is a little bit different than that. That report highlights the extreme cases. What I'm asking is there a way, and maybe there isn't, maybe it's just we don't have the capability to do that, but is there a way to find out how many cases there are altogether citywide? Do we have the capability of doing that, or is that something that's just?
I believe we do.
Okay.
So you want to know how many cases?
How many people are in this situation, whether it's 52,000 or 5,200 or $520? How many people are paying more than what they should because of this? How widespread is it, I guess, is what I'm asking. Is it just, that's it?
Yep,
Right.
I'll get that.
Can we find that?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Council. Council Rourke, then Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I actually filed a motion to this effect a few meetings back concerning the last time the water department was audited. Do you know when that did happen?
The last time it was audited was just the usual audit of the citywide finances. There has been no individual audit of the water department. It's the Sullivan and, Bob can answer that.
Powers and Sullivan.
Sullivan and Powers do the city's independent audit annually for compliance purposes, but it includes all of the funds in the city, the enterprise funds and water funds. It's not really a operational audit of practices. It's a financial audit with management findings sometimes, but they didn't go into this level of detail.
There had to have been a way where the amount of water going out and then the receipts coming in had to have been so out of whack. I mean, over the past 5-10 years, I mean, nothing was picked up at all in that time period?
Again, as I said, they knew there was, and they were manipulating the bills to keep them at this level rather than the correct level up here. And so that's why all of a sudden you had these spikes. And they all came in the last few months. We've rectified the situation, but now we are trying to make sure that we can address these conscionable bills with this new water ordinance.
We can look to see whether the billing system will allow us to ascertain how many long-term estimated bills that there are out there. We can track water pumped and volume billed, absent obviously some natural leakage that will occur. I do believe we can perhaps get a reading out of the system on how many, I think the issue is how many more of these are there out there that generally get precipitated by a long period of estimated bills. And hopefully we can extract that information.
Thank you.
Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you. Through you to the mayor, let me begin by commending the administration for dealing with this issue and putting this ordinance in front of the city council to be referred to the finance subcommittee. I have a little different story in that I pay bills for a family member, and I paid their water bill yesterday, and it was 99 cents. Now, why would they get a water bill for 99 cents if they're doing a true reading? So was that just, again, an estimate? Again, it just seemed odd to me that.
Wait till the next quarter, it'll be $10,000.
But it was not, I never had seen a bill like that, but it was 99 cents. I mean, it's a serious issue. I mean, I almost hated to waste the
The
stamp.
person I think it is, I'll check that.
Okay.
If
Yeah,
I'll check.
okay.
And we'll find out why
Okay.
it is that.
Now, should we refer the motion to the finance subcommittee, to the makers of the motion? Should it be referred to the finance, to keep
Yes.
track with the ordinance?
Yes,
Okay.
right.
Further discussion,
Thank
motion
you.
to refer the finance subcommittee by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Mercia.
That's
On the
fine.
motion, Councilor?
This is what I'm confused about. We have an auditing firm called Powers and Sullivan, and yet they did an audit of the water utility, and they never found any infractions or discrepancies or anything. I find that so unbelievable. Wouldn't you think? That's kind of bizarre. What are they looking for?
No, it's really a financial audit. It's not an operational audit. It's just a general purpose municipal audit. The general annual audit would not get into this.
Well, wouldn't a red flag go up if you see someone paying $150 quarterly and all of a sudden their bill is $9,000? Wouldn't you kind of have a red flag to wonder why that finance situation took place? I know I would be curious about it.
I would agree, Councilor, but the audit doesn't get down into that deeper level. It's more in a global financial revenue and expenditure audit than it doesn't monitor bills.
Also, Councilor. Councilor Martin?
Just to follow up on a point that Mr. Healy made about the leakage and all of that, I mean, the Globe Northwest published a comparison recently of cities or water systems and what was pumped versus what was billed. And, you know, we are, I guess, and according to that report anyway, we were at the higher end of the average. Now we have an older system. You would expect maybe some more leakage. You know, we're a bigger community. Maybe there's more fires. Those are the types of things that don't get billed when you pump water for a fire. But that data exists. It's out there. And I think that's kind of a separate issue from what we're trying to get at here. We just want to make sure, you know, what's billed is actual, and that's what gets billed and that's what gets paid. I think the loss to leakage and seepage and all that is a separate issue, which hopefully with all the improvements that we're making will continue to improve. But that data is tracked by somebody, maybe at DEP or something, and it's available to us if we're inclined to look at it. But I think we need to get to the bottom of this issue first.
Further discussion, all those in favor of the motion of referring this to the finance subcommittee signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries. Report will be sent to the finance subcommittee. Councilor Mercia?
While we're under suspension, and I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but there's people still here for other issues. And we could stay here all night, I don't mind, but I just, out of respect for the people that are here, I just wonder if we could then go to petitions and get miscellaneous, for Attorney Hall is here with 2 people requesting an easement. Wonder if we could go to 7.3. Now, that's up to you.
Motion to suspend, again, to take another item out of order by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. We'll go to petitions. Item 7.3, Counselor.
Yes, thank you.
Miscellaneous, under miscellaneous, Attorney Quahal, Harvey and Walsh for Class D, and Anita Romberg request easement from City of Lowell owner of Fairview Street to travel to and from their lot to Star Avenue. Motion, I'm sorry, Attorney Hall?
Thank you very much, and thank you for suspending the rules. I have Mr. and Mrs. Romberg with me. They reside at 155 Mansour Street. They own a lot of land on Fairview Street to the rear of their property. And through a quirk, I don't know whatever happened, but the City of Lowell actually took Fairview Street for non-payment of taxes from the previous developer, or the first developer. So it's actually owned by the City of Lowell, even though we have a Fairview Street sign, City of Lowell sign, and I'm sure it's plowed and maintained. There's street lights, sewerage, and everything else. But before they could get a building permit for this lot, among other things, they were told by the planning department that we would have to request that the city council vote to give us a lease, an easement to travel down Fairview Street to Star Avenue from their property. And that's what we're doing. Other owners on Fairview Street have this lease. It was signed. I'm aware of one back in the early 90s. I think one mid-90s, maybe, in the late 90s. But this particular lot never did get an easement from the city, so we're trying to do what the city has done for others up there.
Thank you, Attorney Hall. Further discussion on this? Motion to refer this to Law Department to prepare a proper vote by Councilor Milanazzo, seconded by Councilor Rourke. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor Mercia?
And if I could do suspension, since we're still under it, 7.4 for Janet Paz, miscellaneous request to address the city council regarding a house being built in the floodplain.
Motion to suspend by Council Martin, second by Council Leahy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. So ordered. To take item 7.4 out of order, miscellaneous. Janet C. Paz, request to address City Council regarding house being built on corner of Alma and Rosemont Street. If you could just give us your name and your address for the record.
Hi, good evening, Mayor. My name is Janet Paz. I live at 104 Alma Street in the Rosemont Terrace section. I am representing the neighborhood. As one of the many homeowners whose homes were destroyed in the 2006 Mother's Day flood and the 2000 as well, we all rebuilt our homes in the aftermath. Approximately 2 years ago, I stood before the council, along with many other residents of the Rosemont section of Lowell. At that time, as some of you may remember, 2 houses were proposed to be built on the corner of Alma and Rosemont and Lafayette and Rosemont. All abutters were sent a certified letter from the Conservation Commission in reference to the notification of abutters under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, letting us know who the applicant was and the date and time of the hearing being held. If a house is to be built in a flood zone, it must meet strict requirements set aside by the Wetlands Protection Act, such as a flow-through basement, and now it needs to be on stilts as well. No addition of fill, no dredging. The plans were rejected at that time. And we were told at that meeting that if they wanted to reapply for a new permit, it would have to be after 2 years. We as abutters are outraged to find out that a house is in the process of being built at that same lot. Then once that is done, they will start a house on the Lafayette side. Our major concerns are: how are permits given without notifying abutters of the property? It is going to meet the requirements that are set down for a house built in a floodplain. Will the design structure, being on stilts, complement the neighborhood? How will it impact the abutters? And we know it's going to be a single-family home. The problem is, in our neighborhood, there are still many houses empty from the flood in 2006 and 2007. And there is a gentleman buying houses on both streets, slating them as single families, but making them into dorm houses. Putting in 4 bedrooms on each floor, 1 bathroom. And I was told how he was getting away with it by just listing it as one person living there. So not only is our concern isn't not the house being built, how it's going to be built, what are they going to do, how's it going to change and affect the whole dynamics of a flood? Because it's still really real to me and many others out there. And we want to make sure it's done right, and it is truly going to be a single family. And I think that's all.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Paz.
And I do have original letters from the first Wetlands Commission, Conservation Commission, notifying us if anyone wants a copy of it.
If you could give us copies, I think that'd be
We'll
appreciated.
take one for the record anyway. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on this? Council Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now, it's a good question how, now, did these homes only need conservation approval? How come they didn't need planning and zoning approval throughout the motions here? Can anybody tell me?
Mr. Manager?
Well, we'll do an investigation as to the permitting process and then report back at the next meeting relative to this issue.
Yeah, it seems very strange where the planning and zoning boards were not even in the mix here. It's very strange. So please do, so we can maybe get some answers for this, not only this one, but the whole neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. Council Leahy?
If we
Council
could also
Rourke?
get an answer, thank you. If we could just also get an answer too, that is a residential neighborhood, and if someone's skirting the law to make dorm rooms out of them, that should be a concern of ours also. Maybe it falls within their rights of the law, but, if the end product is gonna end up being dorm rooms, it's not fair to the neighborhood, so we should check
Well,
that out.
I think there is language that, under single family, the definition is,
Yeah.
there has to be,
Yeah, it's not
relationships
right.
or relatives, so perhaps we can find that out as well, Mr. Manager. Council Rourke?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a comment on Councilor Leahy's thing, I've been down to that neighborhood. I've talked to some of the residents in the area, and I've seen the houses that are supposedly single-family, and it's not difficult to tell what's really used for. So maybe, Mr. Manager, if you could have inspections just to head down there. I'm sure there's more than one resident that would show inspections, the houses that are being talked about. It is a neighborhood, and if something just to happen, you can just, with the cars and, the foot traffic, it's really obvious to tell. So, on top of the house that's proposed to being built, with this other question, if that could be looked into, that'd be great. Thank you.
Council Mercia?
I don't know if you discussed it, I was up there, but I'm wondering, whatever information we get, could this woman please get the same information that we get as well? I would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And I remember back then in the flooding, it was devastating to see rules put in place and now broken. That's not what we're all about, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I'm sure the manager will be in touch with you, Ms. Paz, on this. All those in favor of the, well, there's not a motion, but,
So moved. I'll move, we get a
Motion
report
to
from the
refer-
manager on the two things.
okay, motion by Council Kennedy, seconded by Council Belanger to get a report on this miscellaneous item, on both items, actually. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Thank you. You're welcome. Reverting back to the item number 2 on the agenda, communications from the city manager, communication summaries. Motion to accept and place on file by Council Martin, seconded by Council Mercia. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to 2.2, communication summaries. Oh, I'm sorry. 2.2 is part of the communications from the city manager. All set? So, so that was, we just adopted 2.1 all the way through M, and then we go to 2.2, okay? Council?
Point two, it's UTEC, isn't it?
Correct. So, motion was to accept, place on file, motion responses, and then we go to 2.2.
Just, Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Point of clarification?
On 2.1, number B was regarding the Butler School, and I think Mr. Jonkis is, are you here for that? Or for something different?
Okay, there are questions on the Butler School that we wanted to ask that we already adopted?
Mr. Jonkis gave me a call last week and explained the whole thing to me, and I'm perfectly satisfied with it. Maybe he wants to provide a similar explanation to everybody, but I'm good.
For the people at home that would probably like to get an update on the Butler School, Mr. Manager?
So, Mr. Jonkis, if you would just give us a brief update on the status of the construction at that location.
Yeah, Steve Jonkis, 130 Warren Street. I'm working on behalf of Butler School LLC, the designated developer for the site at 812 Gorham Street. The developer has undertaken a number of the commitments that he was supposed to undertake, including the removal of the building. He's done significant site work in terms of grading, and he's also installed utilities. The original proposal called for something in the range of 12,800 square feet in 2 different buildings, one on each lot, created by the subdivision road that the developer would build in order to provide access from Gorham Street to the Newhall Street in order to give the Prince Avenue property a more direct route to the Lowell connector. The original idea was to deal with a multi-tenant building that would probably have anything from 1,000 to 2,000 square foot uses, the sort of traditional neighborhood uses, if you will. And after some time working with the brokerage community, it was determined that the market demand just wasn't strong enough. So we began outreach to what I would call national tenants in order to build single purpose buildings for that national retailer. So we're at the point now where we've identified 2 companies. We actually had a site visit today from one of them. We're supposed to have an executed letter for the 9,000 plus square foot building that would be built on lot 1, and we're in discussions on the 7,100 square foot building that would be built on lot 2. The goal is to begin construction this summer and complete within 9 months. But the tenants obviously are key to securing the financing on a real estate transaction like this. And we're very pleased with the progress that we're making, and we're hoping to be able to make a very positive announcement to all of you soon. Happy to answer any other questions.
Great. Council Kennedy?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, you know, I had put this on the agenda to begin with just because I think this is true economic development. It's maybe a small scale project, but nevertheless, it's economic development and it's on public land. And so I had gone by there for quite a while, for several months, and there was no activity. And so that's really why I put it on the agenda. But as Mr. Jones has explained, they're expecting that construction will start before Labor Day, and so you know, I'm satisfied with that.
Thank you, Council. Council Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very excited about this. I know it's not exactly a huge parcel here, but nonetheless, it makes a difference. It's on a very busy thoroughfare, and as Councilor Kennedy mentioned, it's formerly was a school which took a no tax revenue, so here we have a nice commercial building about to enter the tax toll. So that's always That's always good to see. But through you, Mr. Mayor, too, Mr. Jonkis, are we looking at, in this building, first floor retail and office commercial upstairs? How is this laid out, may I ask?
Both of these would be single-story, retail only, 100%.
Oh, single story, okay, retail, excellent. Well done, Mr. Jonkis. Let us know what the city can do for the developer. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Counselor.
Yep.
Thank you. All those, we've already adopted as report and place on file. So thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Jonkis,
Mr.
for
Mayor.
providing that explanation to us.
Thank you.
Further discussion. Moving on, Council Leahy.
Thank you. I just had a quick question on letter I. I read the report through you to the manager. Did we discover if the question was, people were saying they hadn't gotten their first excise bill? So have we found out if bills were misplaced or if bills didn't go out, or?
We tracked every bill, every complaint, and we tracked it, and that bill got to the United States Postal Service for delivery. What happened afterwards, we have no control over, but every complaint that we had, we tracked it, and it got to the United States Postal Service for delivery.
Yeah, thank you.
I think the key thing is the appeals process, which we're pushing to do, because right now there is no appeals process, but if we were able to put in an appeals process, there are many of these people whose demand notices would have been waived.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Also, Councilor. Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know we have the Chief of Police here tonight. Kind of a quick question concerning motion response A, Holy Ghost Park.
Yes.
Chief, if you have a quick
Chief.
second. The last complaint in Holy Ghost came from June 2nd, and I know you sent somebody out there to talk to them.
Yes.
Has there any complaints since that date, do you know of?
No, there have been none that we are aware of up to this point. And the ownership of the Holy Ghost Park and the captain that is responsible for that geographic area have had several constructive conversations, and I think all parties are in agreement to monitor it and reduce the noise level moving forward.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Moving on to 2.2, communication summaries, communications. Discussion, motion to accept and place on file. Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we actually have the chief here and also
Yes.
Mr. Croto from UTEC to hopefully say a few words.
Okay. On the communication question, or your chiefs, you just want to come up and discuss
Yes,
the communication?
Thank you very much, Mayor and members of the City Council and City Manager Murphy. I'm here to report to the City Council of what I believe is a successful agreement between UTEC and the Lowell Police Department concerning some recent disputes. And I think the Lowell Police Department is certainly committed to rebuilding our relationship with UTEC, the United Teen Equality Center. The police department has a long-standing partnership with UTEC, and we expect that to continue and to prosper into the future. We've had several constructive conversations with the executive director, Mr. Croto, who is here tonight. Most recently, myself, along with members of my staff, and Councilor Rourke was very nice enough to join us, along with Mr. Croto and the UTEC board chair, Rich Kavanaugh. The meeting, I think, would be properly categorized as very positive, and both parties came to a mutually agreed upon resolution regarding UTEC's involvement in certain court proceedings that the Lowell Police Department had serious concerns with. So I can say that moving forward, I am certainly confident that this agreement lays the foundation to increase our collaboration with UTEC, and it will positively impact the public safety posture in the city of Lowell moving forward. Additionally, I think it's important to note that at the Lowell Police Department's suggestion, we've committed to bringing our new district response officers, our community policing officers, into UTEC to meet with their street workers, develop relationships, and facilitate mutual respect in the field. And that the police department certainly recognizes that UTEC works with proven risk and criminally involved young people to provide necessary services to assist them in becoming more successful members of the community. the Lowell Police Department is also committed to coordinating a meeting with the Chelsea Police Chief, who is a good friend of mine, Brian Keyes, and the equivalent of UTEC in Chelsea, which is ROCA. ROCA and the City of Chelsea Police Department have a very long-standing cooperative relationship with each other, and I think that we can learn a lot from their cooperation and their previous involvement with each other. So I think it would be very instructive for us to travel down to Chelsea and have that meeting. So,
Thank you, Superintendent. Mr. Croto?
Thank you, Chief. I want to first thank the council, Mary Elliott, Manager Murphy, for not only a commitment to public safety for all of Lowell, but also for your attention to this issue. And thank you, Manager Murphy, for your leadership on this issue and for a very productive meeting when this issue first arose and for taking the time to do that. And I also like to extend our appreciation to Councilor Rook, who from the very beginning, his involvement in this issue and your commitment to stay through it to see the resolution, so thank you as well. And obviously, I want to thank Chief Taylor for not only several productive meetings that I think were allowing us to the progress we've now been able to move forward on, but since the very beginning of this issue, he has remained accessible throughout, and he's personally become involved in making sure we have a successful resolution, so thanks to the Chief. I think I would say that we understand the very seriousness of this issue, and I also understand the very importance of having a very strong relationship with the city and the police department. So we take this very seriously. And I think through these meetings, as the chief echoed, I would echo that as well, that we're absolutely confident about moving forward in a very positive way. I think UTEC is confident that the concerns raised before should no longer be an issue. In fact, I think through additional meetings we'll be having moving forward, we believe that hopefully the partnership will become even stronger. Last week after the senseless shooting we had on Midland Street, there was a community visibility, and I know that myself and all the folks that were there were very proud to stand alongside the police officers, community residents, Mayor Elliott, to echo the same statement that I know the Councilor Mercy has said in the past, that this type of violence can never be seen as normal, and we look forward to continuing to do that. I think, we've been privy to know that Lowell has been seen as a model partnership in the type of work we're doing around youth violence prevention. And I think, again, thanks to all the parties that came together around this issue to make sure it's a successful resolution. I think that, again, I want to echo the fact that the seriousness we take of this issue, the importance of having a strong relationship, and we feel that moving forward, hopefully we'll be even in a stronger place. So we're open to any ideas and suggestions along the way, not only from the chief and the council, Mayor Elliott and Manager Murphy. So thank you again for your attention to this.
Thank you, Mr. Croto. Councilor Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to both to the chief and to the Director Croto. All the great things that UTEC does, the council of the city appreciates that. The reason why I filed the motion and why I asked for you both to be, because I do think that the relationship between the two agencies is strained. I think when you and the chief speak about going down to Chelsea, I'm familiar with the ROCA social services organization down there. I think if you can model that relationship down there, up here, I think it'd be terrific, because I think there's a sharing of information down there. There's constant communication, and my goal would be that the same relationship with Chelsea Police Department and with ROCA, if UTEC could have that with Lowell Police, the city benefits. And again, with all the terrific things that UTEC does, you said it yourself, public safety is job number one. So hopefully, going forward, that remains, the first thing that you want to deal with, that you want to help out with. And I'm thankful that you both came here this evening. I'm thankful for the agreement that you do have in place. Obviously, missteps were taken, but those are in the past. Going forward, building that relationship, as long as it keeps on going in a positive direction, hopefully the city of Lowell will be a better place because of UTEC and the police department. So once again, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. I want to thank Chief Taylor and Director Croto for their presentation tonight. I've worked with both agencies in the past, and I know the value of each agency. I mean, they both have, in a sense, distinctly different jobs, but I think the way life is today, it is very important that the police and an agency such as UTEC work together hand in hand to make this a safer city. And it's nice to, I think the public was very concerned as to what was going on, what was being addressed with their problems. There are always problems, but when we are able to sit down and communicate and talk together, those problems are solved. So evidently, we're on a very strong road to making this work. And as a member of the city council, I think I can speak for every city councilor here. This is what we wanted to hear. This is what we want to see, because this is what the public expects. Thank you for the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Samaras. Further discussion? Thank you again, Chief. And Mr. Croto, we look forward to continuing to work together. Motion to accept the communication and place on file by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Rourke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries. Moving on to 2.3. Communication, reappoint Paulette Renaud Caragianis. Dear Mayor Elliott, members of the City Council, pursuant to the authority vested in me as City Manager under Mass General Laws, Chapter 111, Section 26, as amended by Chapter 60 of the Acts of 97, I have reappointed Paulette Renaud Caragianis of 84 Beach Street, Lowell, Mass. 01850 to a new term to expire February 2nd, 2017, or time such thereafter. Council Mercia?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to reiterate what I said when she was first appointed. She's a member of the Board of Directors for CTI as well as myself. We had an annual, very important meeting, and one of our members was having a cough drop, and it lodged in his throat, and we thought he was dead. But she sat aside of him, she got up, she took everything in her own hands, and my God, it was the most frightening thing I ever seen, and she revived, and I say she brought him back to life. So I'm very wholeheartedly in support of that. I can't keep that out of my mind of how we thought we were losing this guy, and he pulled through and everything was fine. Thanks to Paulette Renaud Caragianis. I'm saying it again. I'm always very happy when she's attending the meeting. I feel a lot safer there, so I support her 100%, and I move approval of this reappointment.
Motion to approve by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Rourke. Roll call.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Council Kennedy.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Martin.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. Motion carries. The next item is a communication. Proposed amendments to Chapter 272, Water and Sewer. Motion to refer to the Finance Subcommittee for report and recommendation by Council Samaras, seconded by Council Rourke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the
Mr.
opposed,
Mayor.
Council Mercia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I did want to speak on this when it come up, and it's up right now. And I can't say enough about the city manager for knowing our concern and having the solicitor and the manager together bring this ordinance forward and offer suggestions on ways that we can strengthen it for the people and give more power to not just one sole person. I have a problem when one person has too much power, that we can't share that and screen it and talk about it. And so this is a good thing. And to refer this to the Finance Subcommittee, this is exactly what this council wanted. So I commend the solicitor and you, Mr. Manager, for bringing this forward in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Motion was made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries. Referred to the Finance Subcommittee. Next item under 2.5 is a communication. Proposed amendments to Chapter 222 to create a new Section 222-15 entitled Synthetic Recreational Drugs. entertain a motion. Council Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to speak on the motion. Nonetheless, a very, very important ordinance in my mind. This is something that the younger generation is coming onto, and it leads to a lot worse things. So from what I gather, I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if it's through you to the manager or the solicitor, what are we talking about here? We're talking about synthetic or designer drugs, if you will, that are sold over the counter in variety stores and gas stations that basically are illicit drugs. Is that what I'm gathering here?
Mr. Manager?
Well, basically, what they are is like bath salts that can be melted or smoked, and it creates a high for people. So they're sold at all variety stores. What we want to do is we want to ban those from being sold at the variety stores because they're very, very dangerous. Although they said that they're used for bath salts or other things, they really aren't. They're being used as a substance abuse.
Yeah, they're using different labeling, if you will,
Yes.
that disguise what the product actually is. So, yes, let's get these off the shelves as soon as possible. So I think it's a great ordinance, one that's necessary in the city here, because like I said, this could be a gateway drug to worse things, so I do support it. Thank you very much.
Entertain a motion to refer this to the Public Safety Subcommittee by Council Kennedy, seconded by Council Leahy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, that motion carries.
Mr. Mayor?
Council Martin?
Yeah, just before we leave communications, if I could be recognized on a point of personal privilege. I know you were present, and many of us were present at the recent dedication for the green space for former Mayor Armin LeMay. And it was a well-attended event, very nice event. I only bring it up this evening. We had a surprise visit from former Governor Dukakis, and there were a number of former elected officials, all of whom were identified at the event, and but no one really from the city administration was identified. Commissioner Bellegarde was, and rightly so, in his role as Commissioner Parks, but I know the manager's office was represented by Mr. Marchand, who actually planted the idea in my head long ago for this. So I just wanted, and Mr. Marchand very modest and doesn't like to be acknowledged, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I think this was one of the more enjoyable of the dedications that we get to see. I mean, certainly the former Mayor LeMay was humbled by the thing. All his family was there. He had many friends, and it wouldn't have come off without input early on from Mr. Marchand. So thank you, Mr. Manager, Mr. Assistant to the Manager, for your efforts in seeing this through.
Thank you, Council.
I will say congratulations. Thank you very much.
I think Council Martin really said it very well. It was a very well attended event. It takes a lot of effort to coordinate, as well as do the work. So we get to hear former city manager and former mayor sing "O Canada," and myself and Councilor Rita Mercier to sing the Star Spangled Banner. Our first and last time we'll do that.
Last is right.
Anything else on the communications? Moving on to next item, votes from the city manager. I would like Council Leahy to come up and take this vote. It has to do with the Environmental Protection Agency, and I'm just going to stand down and recuse myself. Council Leahy?
access for property agreement between the City of Lowell, United States Environmental Protection Agency, relative to staging vehicles and equipment, drainage, and any necessary removal activities that may be required at 86 Bay Street in Lowell. So do a motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Belanger. Second reading by title, in City Council, vote authorizing the city manager to execute consent of access to property agreement between the City of Lowell and the United States Environmental Protection Agency relative to staging vehicles and equipment, drainage, and any necessary removal of activities that may be required at 86 Bay Street in Lowell. Motion to approve. Seconded by Councilor Kennedy. Any questions? Roll call.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Do we know what the duration of this is going to be? For how long?
Ms. Strad, do we know what the duration of this project, what it's going to be?
We're not real sure, but it's just really happening on the perimeter, and they're just going to keep a couple pieces of equipment there.
So they're really going to be over, like, on the park property or the school property, more or less?
No, they're going to be on private property, actually. The contamination is on private. They will have their equipment on the park piece, the 86 Bay Street, not on the school site.
But this is, you think it's short-term? I mean, a month or two?
Yes, oh yeah, definitely,
Okay.
definitely.
All right, thanks.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott. Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy. Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
8 yeas.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda is 3.3, vote to accept and expend a grant of $50,000 from the Division of Planning and Development, Department of Energy Resources, Green Community Division. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Kennedy, seconded by Council Belanger. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries. Second reading by title, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City Lowell, and City Council is a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept and expend a grant from the Department of Energy Resources, Green Communities Division in the amount of $50,000 to support a full-time energy manager for the City of Lowell for use by the Department of Planning and Development. Motion to approve by Council Martin. Second by Council Samaras. Roll call.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Moving on to item 3.4. It's another vote to apply, accept, and expend a grant for the Council on Aging for $121,600. Entertain a motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. The second reading is by title, Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the City of Lowell in City Council, a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to apply for, accept, and expend a grant from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs in the maximum amount of $121,600 for the continued employment of staff as well as funding for various supplies and equipment maintenance for use by the Council on Aging. Motion to approve by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Roll call.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is another vote to accept a gift from the Pollard Memorial Library It's an iPad mini from HB Communications Incorporated. Motion to waive the full reading by Counsel Martin, seconded by Counsel Leahy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, that motion carries. Second reading by title. In City Council is a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell to accept a gift of an iPad mini for use by the City of Lowell Pollard Memorial Library. Motion to approve by Council Belanger, seconded by Council Kennedy. Roll call.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. 3.5, sorry. This is another vote to accept a gift from the Health Department for $50,000 for 3 years from Lowell General Hospital, Substance Abuse Prevention Education. Second reading, in City Council, vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the City of Lowell Health Department to accept a gift from the Lowell General Hospital of $50,000 annually for 3 years for their community benefits fund to help support City of Lowell substance abuse prevention education. Be it voted that the city manager be and is hereby authorized in the name of the City of Lowell Health Department to accept a gift of $50,000 annually for a 3-year period commencing July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2017 from Lowell General Hospital for their Community Benefits Fund to help support the City of Lowell Substance Abuse Prevention Education pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A. The funds will be utilized to fill an outreach worker position within the Health Department whose duties will entail both education and prevention measures. Further, that the city manager will convey the city's appreciation for their generous donation. Motion to approve by Counsel Leahy, seconded by Counsel Martin. Roll call.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
It's 9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Moving on to ordinances from the city manager. 4.1 is an ordinance creating energy manager position and salary within the Division of Planning and Development. Motion to refer this to a public hearing on July 22nd by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. That'll be at 7 p.m. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries. Next item under Constable Bonds, 5.1, we have a communication from the city manager, request approval of Constable Bond of Richard Carter. Motion to approve by Counsel Kennedy, seconded by Counsel Belanger. Roll call.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
It's 9 yeas.
9 yeas, motion carries. Moving on to item 7, petition Verizon, request underground conduit at 585 Merrimack Street. Entertain a motion to refer to a public hearing on July 22nd, 2014 at 7 p.m. by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. Council Mercer?
Mr. Mayor, can we just reiterate what you just said? When's the public hearing for what?
This is Verizon request underground conduit at,
Oh, public hearing, July 22nd?
correct, July
Thank you.
22nd at 7 p.m.
Okay, thanks.
Council Martin?
I wanted to abstain from that vote. I believe Councilor Milonazo does as well.
Okay. We'll ask for roll call? Okay, Mr. Clerk?
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Abstain.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Abstain.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
7 yeas.
7 yeas, motion carries.
Mr. Mayor?
Counselor Rourke?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize on reports for subcommittees, 6.
Yes,
I schedule a public safety subcommittee for 7:22, please.
okay.
The
I'm
concern
sorry,
tonight's
I didn't call for reports. Are there any reports from subcommittees? I didn't think there were. But there is, what is that one, Counsel? What day are they again?
7:22 at 5:30, please.
7/22, July 22nd at 5:30. Any other subcommittee reports scheduled? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Counsel. Back under petitions, we have a miscellaneous petition from Norma Fusco, request to address council regarding condition of crosswalk at the corner of Middlesex and Central Street. Is Norma here? I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Fusco left me a message late this afternoon stating that she wasn't feeling well. I told her that we could put it before the board and have the board wish if they wanted to refer it to the manager, or if she wanted to attend. Either way, she was amenable to it.
Okay.
Well, she hadn't returned my call. That was a message I left.
Counsel Martin and Counsel Kennedy?
I would suggest we refer to the manager for report and recommendation.
Okay. Motion by Counsel Martin, second by Counsel Kennedy to refer to the manager for report and recommendation. Mr. Manager?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I actually drove up there yesterday morning, and this is where we're doing a lot of construction relative to the intersection there, and they're installing all new crosswalks and paving for the street. So any issues probably will be resolved, but we'll certainly reach out to her and make sure they are resolved, Counselor.
All those, Counsel Belanger?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. One quick question. Through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, is this has to do with the two-way conversion plan? With some upgrades making in crosswalks and?
No, it's just a paving project,
Okay.
not to do with the two-way, but it's just a general upgrade. And like I say, I was there, and they're improving it all, so hopefully it answers the questions for you.
And I assume will be complete by the Folk Festival? We're hoping.
We will make sure of that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Further discussion on this miscellaneous item? All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? That motion is going to the city manager for report and recommendation. We already did 7.3. We already did 7.4. Moving on to city council motion part of the agenda. First motion of the evening. Council A, request city manager have proper department determine if an L is in compliance with all agreements concerning the installation and maintenance of flashboards at the Pawtucketville Falls. Second by Council Samaras.
Thank you.
Council Leahy.
Motion, I was supposed to put this on last meeting, but since the heavy rains of the spring, early summer, they've replaced the flashboards at the bridge, and this has been an issue anyway. So the steel pegs just look like they're getting closer and closer. But after driving by there the other day, it looks like the flashboards are failing the way they're supposed to. So if we could just have someone check on that and make sure that they're properly installed. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye. And the opposed? That motion carries. Next item, next motion of the evening is Council Mercia. Request city manager have the proper department inspect and address the conditions of the cement around the concourse inside the LaLasha Park. Seconded by Council Milonazo. Council Mercia?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion more or less speaks for itself. I had a constituent that attended a Spinners game, and he ultimately tripped and fell and noticed that the concourse cement around the inside of LaLasha Park is deteriorating, and he believes that it's because when the cement was poured many, many years ago, there probably wasn't a sealant on it, and that probably contributed to it. So if we could just take a look, I think the city is responsible for the maintenance of that property, so the motion speaks for itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on this motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion carries. Next motion of the evening by Councilor Mercia. City manager, request city manager work with the city solicitor with support from the police chief to create a letter and the proper vote demanding our judges enforce the state gun law, which mandates incarceration for 1 year to anyone in violation of the state gun law. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Occasionally, we receive information from the Lowell Police Department, such as the citywide CompStat crime comparisons, which we recently got, that compared 2013 to 2014 crime categories: aggravated assault down 13%, burglary down 22%, car breaks down 47%, robbery down 27%. I'm happy crime is down. Shootings and knife attacks are up 100%. I don't want to think that just because these crimes are down, it justifies that only one particular crime is up. I don't want to believe that we are a society that is becoming desensitized to violence, desensitized to guns being fired in the night into a crowd at rival gang members. This is not acceptable, and we need a plan. We need to put our collective minds together and devise a plan to stop this. This motion of mine is part of the plan, a small piece of the whole puzzle. Let's see what we have so far. We have a public, our constituents, who let us know that they want more boots on the ground. They want better public safety and more police. We have a city manager who heard this message from this council and put this appropriation in his very first budget. We have a city council that supported it, and a public, i.e. the taxpayers, who are willing to pay for it. We have a police superintendent who followed suit and put more police on the street, walking, on bikes, and on segways. All is lost if everyone involved does not do their part, and we have judges who will tap the perpetrators on the wrist and let them put their boots and guns and knives back on the street. I would want the solicitor and the city manager, with the support of the police chief, to compile a letter and a proper vote of this council in support of having our judges. And I'd like to amend my own motion to include not only the judges, but a district attorney, Middlesex County District Attorney, enforce the state-mandated gun law, which states incarceration for 1 year to anyone in violation of the gun law. People are shooting people and not even being prisoned, because the judges probably do want to put people and live by those rules, but they're watered down, and we can't have that. People are stabbing others 7 times, and they're given probation. I don't understand how you can stab someone 7 times. I don't think they wanted to inflict a scratch on them. I think they were trying to kill them. I don't know what the circumstances are, but they're on probation. I don't get that. We need to follow the laws that are in place, truth in sentencing. We need to send a message that we had enough. We need the good people to come out of your homes, because the bad guys are gone, and we all need to work together. We need the cooperation from our judges, the district attorney. We need it from everybody to send a message that everyone is doing their part, and we need their help. I hope this motion does that. It's only a small piece of the puzzle. I'm just trying to say that if we put all our minds together, we can send a message. There's no message being sent. At one time, there was a message that was sent, so you have a warrant. Well, nobody's going to do anything about it. And then the police chief embraced the sheriff's office. They formed a warrant apprehension unit, and now you don't hear that. We don't hear, don't worry about your warrant. They're not going to fine you, and they're not going to do anything about you. You can disappear. They don't care. Well, they do care, and that's what we got to send that message to the public, that we care, that if you're going to walk down the street or ride down the street with a gun and you're not licensed to do so, you're going to jail. Not only that, they're shooting people today, and they're not even going to jail, because once that offense is watered down and gets before the judges, their hands are not, their hands are tied, and we got to release their hands and hold them accountable and send a message that you don't want to carry a gun or shoot anybody in Lowell, Massachusetts. We're not going to put up with it. Pretty soon you'll have a body on the ground and we'll be walking over it because this is the normal thing. It isn't normal. We shouldn't accept it. And this motion is a little bit of that puzzle. So I honestly need support from my colleagues to support a letter to not only the judges, but amending it to the district attorney that truth in sentencing, a gun is a very dangerous object in the hands of wrong people. I'm not talking about people that are licensed to do so, that are responsible gun owners. Absolutely not talking about them. Talking about hoodlums, thugs that want to shoot probably rival members, probably to shoot into a crowd. I don't know, but we got to send a message, and this is the message I want to send. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Mercia. Council Belanger, then Council Leahy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I beg to differ, Council. I think this is a big piece of the puzzle, if you will, and a very good motion. I commend you. The problem is there are too many guns on the street, and nothing is being done about it. We've had, the last few months, a pretty bad record where the trajectory is going down the wrong path. We're getting random gunshots, gang shootings, and it seems to be rampant. And we're getting no help. We just raised taxes on the backs of the taxpayers, raised their property taxes to increase public safety to combat this problem. It seems like we're doing our part when our men and women in law enforcement are putting everything on the line to put these punks behind bars for having gun possessions. We get no help from the courts. They're back on the street. Well, jails are full. We've heard it all. We don't want them on the street. Build more jails then, quite frankly. We need these people off the street. They know nothing happens to them. Talk to police, men and women on the street. They are disrespected. They are laughed at because they know in the end they will walk and nothing will happen to them. Enough is enough. Let the city of Lowell lead the charge here on this. This is an outcry. We've seen enough. We need help here. So there's no objection to the maker of the motion. I'd like to amend it to the governor, too. Let him know what's going on, who has entirely philosophy on this situation. We need to fight fire with fire. Our city is being overrun. We have good people living in fear of good neighborhoods, and whether it's good neighborhoods or not, we're not going to put up with it. So it's about time we draw the line on this and get very serious. So I do support the motion. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on the motion? I'm sorry, Council Leahy.
Thank you. I just wanted to offer my, we all support this. It's a great motion. And it's about time that we raise our voices and let them be heard down on Beacon Hill. Thank you, Councilor Mercia. Good motion, and let's lead the charge and say enough is enough.
Thank you, Councilor. All those in favor of the motion signify by Council Mercia.
I'd like a roll call, please.
Roll call.
Yep. No, I got it. Counselor Samaras.
Yes.
Counselor Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Rourke.
Present.
And, Mr. Mayor?
8 yeas, motion passes. Council Mercia.
For clarification purposes, I know Dan Councilor Rourke supports it, but he works for judges, so he has to abstain. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Next motion of the evening by Council Belanger. Request city manager report on the percentage of low-income housing to market rate housing in the downtown area. Second by Council Leahy. Council Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't want to sound insensitive to the issue. I fully realize that we're a city and we need affordable low-income housing. There's no two ways about it. I am not against low-income housing. Prior to being elected, I was on the Board of Appeals for 10 years. I approved hundreds of low-income units. I am certainly not against it, but it seems like the balance is becoming a little unbalanced, if you will. Recently, we all received some fairly good news, I'll say, about Mass Mills 3, a very blighted, one of the only mills that hasn't been developed yet in the city. It's been blighted and unoccupied. It's had red X's on it for a number of years, 30, 40, 50 years, maybe more. About to be redeveloped, and that's great. But a 70-unit complex, the developer plans on making 57 low-income, 13 market rate. Might as well call it 100% low-income, quite frankly. I want to enlighten my colleagues and the public what's going on with the recent development on Jackson Street. We've seen a lot of development up there, and it's great. Granted, again, blighted mills, in distress, fixed up and on the tax rolls. Of course, everyone likes to see that. There's an artist down, these are artist lofts now, especially Appleton Mills, located at the end of Jackson Street, refurbished by Wind Development and managed by Wind Development. There's an artist who plays downtown. He's a drummer in a band. So he was certified as an artist. He goes, applies for a unit at the Appleton Mills for artist, was denied because he had too much money in savings. Now, I'm not throwing these man's financials out in the street, but we're not talking about tens of thousands of dollars here. We're talking minimal money, was denied. I thought back in 05, 06, 07, we led a Mills to Martini campaign. That has appeared to have gone by the wayside. Now, currently, from my calculations, Lowell has 3 to 4 times above what's required for low-income housing. The city of Lowell does its part. No two ways about it. We have social services for those in need. No one can chastise us for not doing our part for low-income families. What this does, when you think low-income units and affordable, now, this doesn't mean the college graduates get subsidized, okay? What happens is this inflates rents. Another member of the town who formerly just moved out was paying $1,800 for a 2-bedroom apartment on Jackson Street. Recently moved, could not afford it any longer. What happens is when rents are subsidized by the federal government, when you have tenants in there receiving benefits and are subsidized by the federal government, it inflates rents, makes it unaffordable for college graduates, young professionals who want to move in. It's difficult enough without parking and having to walk this and that. So this is what's trending here. And it's kind of disturbing, and it's going on throughout the Commonwealth. The mayor of New Bedford has claimed they have put a halt on affordable housing. Springfield is going through the same thing. These gateway cities are all becoming unbalanced, if you will. Again, we need affordable housing. There's a use for it, and we have to have it. But as a whole, as I read up on this, I'll give you an example, an article from the Boston Globe. The city's impressive facelift has failed to yield the expected gains for the working class. On to say, there has been no raise in income levels with all this resurrection, so to speak. What I thought the goal was to get people with disposable income in these units, and this is part of economic development. I'm not saying we can't allow low-income units in these projects, of course, but I thought we were on this mission from Mills to Martinis, which I'm hearing from, and my colleagues will soon be hearing from, that these people bought into a marketing plan that has completely gone by the wayside. When these mills get developed, they apply for low-income tax credits. Therefore, they have to rent to predominantly low-income families. And again, it's just the balance is becoming a little off track here. And I think it's time we get a hard look, take a hard look at this, and get a report from the manager and DPD. What is the percentage of low-income? I think it's going to be staggering from what I'm seeing. Being a businessman in the downtown for 15 years, I think it's going to be staggering what we see here. I'd like to at least get the motion through to take a hard look at this to see the percentage of what's going on, because we can do better than what we're doing. So I asked my colleagues to support this, just to see the percentage of what's going on. Again, it's resulting into very, very expensive rents in the downtown. So I hope I have support from my colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion on this motion? Council Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll support the motion just to get the information, but I would suggest that the administration actually look at the number of market rate units that have been built over the last, say, 5 to 10 years. Because at one point, I agree with Councilor Belanger that we probably had an overabundance, mostly elderly housing, in the downtown. And I think we've done a very good job building market rate housing. So I think there's a better balance. And I'm not sure that Councilor Belanger would necessarily agree with that, but there is a better balance. And this idea of selling this market plan of Mills to Martinis to people that came in and bought market rate units, the majority of those did buy market rate units, and I understand that they're happy with their purchase. I think the Mills to Martini campaign was another, in my opinion, another failure. And we're going to get together. The administration's working with all of the stakeholders to look at how we best market the city, take down some of these silos that have been in the city for the past few years. But I think that putting low-income housing and Milton Martinis in the same sentence, in my opinion, is not the right approach. I'll support the motion to get the numbers, but I will tell you that we have built more market rate housing units in the downtown in the last, say, 10 years than ever in the downtown area. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Kennedy, then Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I intend to support the motion, too. I think it is a good motion. I do, however, think that we're better off waiting for the information that comes from the report before we jump to any conclusions. And hopefully the report will be somewhat an in-depth report, and that we'll be able to take action or make changes in policies after we get that report. But I think that to say too much before we've even got the report is probably, we're probably better off just waiting until we get the report is what I think. But I'm happy to support it. I think it's a good motion. I think there's one property down that comes to mind, which was supposed to be condominiums that was supposed to be market rate condominiums, and I think that in the end, none of the units were sold, and they've all been rented out. And at this point, they've been rented for several years. So that's that's kind of in line with what Council Belanger is pointing to. But I think we're better off waiting for the report from the manager. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Martin?
Thank you. I too look forward to the report, but I think we're going to be somewhat pleasantly surprised, and I appreciate Councilor Kennedy's remarks about let's wait for it first. But we've gotten reports like this in the past, and I can recall one in particular from Mr. Bakey, which showed what the city was like 20-plus years ago, when the only residents really were subsidized elderly housing units. And then from that, we've had a large growth in market rate, moderate income housing units, other units, because we all want a mix. We want an income mix in the downtown. We don't want to be exclusively a place for the wealthy or exclusively a place for the poor or for those in the middle. And we've achieved a better balance. I have no doubt that the report will show that. We have a better balance than we did. And that's been done without displacing a single low-income unit. It's been done all through growth. So the existing units that we had are still there. We've just added more to it to balance out the mix. Now, since we've had that report in the past, we've had an economic downturn. We had big financial problems in the entire country since 2008. We've had sort of shifts in the real estate market which have hurt, and maybe this mix has become upset a little bit. But so I think we should be striving for that mix. I think Councilor Belanger is right. We do want to attract people with income and money to spend to the downtown. I think that benefits everybody, including those of low income. So I look forward for the report. I would ask, Mr. Manager, that it also, to the extent it can, distinguish between low-income units, moderate-income units, what that means under the federal guidelines, and what are the market rates? You know, what people that pay market rate, what do they pay? And I think, well, I'll reserve judgment, but I think we have a good story to tell, and hopefully this data will let us tell it.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. I just wanted to add that I've heard what everyone says. Tonight we'll get the report, but we can't stop at that report because I was downtown last weekend for an art exhibit, and what I noticed is, you know, if we do want to attract these people to buy market rate condos or apartments or whatever downtown, we have to have something for them to do. After 8 o'clock, everything's closed. The only thing you can do downtown is go out to eat, go into a bar. So the report can't stop here once we get it. I mean, we're trying to attract people with disposable income downtown. We have to have places for them to go to, even just having the CVS open, an ice cream stand, the candy stores. We have to change if we want the housing to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Councilor Leahy, would you take the chair, please?
Next motion, 8.6, next motion of the night by Mayor Elliott. Request city manager prepare a report regarding physician and nursing costs relative to workers' compensation. Seconded by Councilor Rourke. Mayor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. This motion essentially speaks for itself. We had this issue came up during the budget, and I just wanted to follow up with a report, knowing that these are contracted services. So that's essentially the essence of that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, motion passes. Next motion, 8.7, by Mayor Elliott. Request city manager prepare a report regarding workers' compensation costs for the last 5 years. Seconded by Councilor Kennedy. Mayor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Same thing, and I know I've actually asked for a report maybe a number of years ago on this, just to find out if we are in fact saving on workers' comp claims, or if there's an increase and why there's an increase. So I mean, it's a big budget item that in the budget, so I think we need to just take a look at it, and it'd be good to get a report on those costs.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
All those in favor of the motion? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Motion passes. 8.8, next motion by Mayor Elliott. We request the city manager have CFO prepare a report regarding the costs and operations of the solar fields at the former landfill. Seconded by Councilor Kennedy. Mayor Elliott.
Thank you. I'd just like to probably make a correction to my own motion. I'm really looking not so much at the cost as I am the revenues as a result of that agreement and any exemptions that may or may not apply. So we can just try to get an overall report on, exactly what we are, the revenue we're getting from the field up there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Motion passes. Next motion of the night, 8.9, motion by Mayor Elliott. Request that the city manager have the LPD strictly enforce the curfew ordinance. Seconded by Councilor Mercia. Mayor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I filed this motion as a result of the continued violence that we've had in the city, And this was adopted back in 1994 by the city council in response to an increase in violence from teenagers. And, you know, it was, they adopted it to, you know, this youth protection curfew, essentially to protect the youth in the city. So, and if, you know, the ordinance reads, it's enacted to protect minors from each other, other persons, and in public places, to assist the police in crime prevention, to promote parental supervision and authority over minors, protect the public from nocturnal crime and mischief by minors, protect and promote the furtherance of family responsibility, public good, safety, and welfare. And it seems that we need to take another look at this ordinance. And while I understand part of the ordinance has been struck down by the SJC, there's still a non-criminal disposition that we can use to our advantage. I have to tell you, just this Saturday night, I had to pick up my daughter at the airport. I left my house at 11 p.m. Driving down Varnum Ave, there wasn't a car in the street. I returned an hour and a half later. There were 50 cars with loads of teenagers, underage, drinking at a house party. Now, I understand this is for public places, but the neighborhood has to listen to vehicles, kids screaming, and a party in the neighborhood. And I didn't understand, how could this happen? I left, I came back an hour and a half later, and there's a full-blown party at a home with anywhere from 60 to 70 kids. So, you know, in this day and age of modern technology, somebody sends out a tweet, yo, someone's having a party at somebody's house, everybody shows up. I stayed there till 1:15, the police did show up. Kids continued to barrel in to that party till the police broke it up. So I do think that there's an issue in the city with young kids. I understand the ordinance is from 11 to 5 a.m. There are plenty of provisions in this ordinance for, you know, kids that work, if there's an emergency, if there's a social, a religious organization. But I think kids on the street are contributing to the increase in crime. And it's not just these parties, it's kids on the streets. We clearly can see it from the increase in violence from the statistics that Councilor Mercy has cited. And I do think that we need to, and I understand it's a non-criminal disposition, but I think we have to use every tool that we have in the city to quell the violence that's taking place. I understand people are outside. I understand people are going to have parties. But I feel after 12 o'clock, and if we want to refer this to Public Safety Subcommittee, I am good with that, to take another look at it. But I don't think anything good happens at 12 o'clock. Kids that are 16, 17, 18-year-old, they're not working. And I don't know what they could possibly be doing at that hour of the night. What I did see, I saw it with my own eyes. So that is, you know, that's the essence of my motion. I've spoken to many police officers these days, and they think that, you know, it's on the books. We just need to, you know, be a little bit, we have to be more vigilant in, even if it's not a criminal disposition, it's something that they can use to, you know, to break up these parties and, you know, to slow down the violence. So that's the essence of my motion.
Councilor Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Yet another motion here to let the residents of Lowell know that we are very serious about tackling public safety. And this is a big part of it in my mind. These youths are out there walking the streets. I see it as a businessman downtown, walking the streets past midnight. Let's face it, after that hour, they're up to no good. I hate to pass judgment, but I think that's a fair assessment, to be honest with you. But this is a problem, okay? These youths are out there drinking, doing God knows what, and it leads, or can lead, to violence. Now, I know we have the superintendent here, and I know they have their hands full at this time, but we have to tackle this issue head-on. And with Councilor Mercy's motion earlier this evening, and with Mayor Elliott's motion, I think they will will and can make a significant difference in this. But this ordinance is in place, it's up to us. And I know we're going to hear if the comment would be by the solicitors that the SJC did not rule in our favor, but I don't care to hear it, quite frankly. And I know she's passing along informative information, but nonetheless, we have our own problems, and we got to face them head on. So I think it should be looked at and enforced. Once again, it's in place. Now is the time to really start enforcing it. So I wholeheartedly support the motion, Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This is yet another piece of the puzzle. Another piece of the puzzle. We are so upset about the violence that's taken place with the guns that we realize it's created from drug activity. There's drug activity, and many years ago, and I thought that it was later than 94, because I know that I was on the council when we adopted it, and I supported it then, and I support it now. Over the years, they probably enforced it, and then things got better, and then they slacked off, and it's time to dig it out and utilize it again. When you see 10-year-olds on bicycles going from one end of the city to another at probably 11:30 at night, you know they're not going over to grandma's, they're probably running drugs. Let's not be so naive that we don't believe that these things are happening in the city and they're using a kid on a bike. Nobody's going to notice this kid because nobody pays attention to the curfew, and I think it's a very important piece of the puzzle. We got to look at all angles to be one step ahead of what's going on in this city, because drugs is leading to violence, to leading to shootings, and innocent people are going to get hurt, and we as a council are trying to put a stop to it one piece at a time, all together, to stop this. Now, in my day, which is a long time ago, and it was a lot safer probably, we would see on TV, it's 11 o'clock, do you know where your children are? And I'd look around and say, yeah, that one's in bed, this one's about to be in bed and should have been in long ago. It's like, it's 3 in the morning, do you know if your kids are even home? You know, we're being desensitized again. That's why this motion is very, very important. I know that we're going into executive session and we're going to discuss this very topic. I'll have even more to say in there, but because there are more plans and more thoughts that we can do to make this city a heck of a lot better and bring those people that are hiding in the house back outside where they belong. They belong outside, and I'm tired of hearing, oh, we got to let them go. There's no more room in jail. Well, make room for these thugs and let the good people back out in the street and these bad people back inside where they belong. And then maybe they'll be rehabilitated. I shouldn't probably say this, but I'm going to say it. And I'm not proud of it. I tried very hard with my family. I had a son that went to jail. It was the awfulest thing that could ever happen. It devastated a family. But that's probably what he needed, because he didn't listen and he rebelled, but he's doing tremendous, knock on wood, today. And that's probably the best thing that happened to him. And I'm telling you that although we look at the dark side and say, oh my God, he went to jail, sometimes good things happen out of bad, and he turned out to be a remarkable young man with a family and a good head on his shoulders, and these things happen to the best of us. And I'm not proud of it, but they belong in jail, and I'm not coddling anymore. They need it, and maybe they'll do society a good deed by coming out and realizing they didn't belong there. It was a worst thing that could happen that changed their life around. So we need to get tough. We need to send a message, whether it be the curfew or the truth in sentencing. We need to send a message. You're not going to do that in this city of Lowell. You want to do it somewhere else, let them handle it, but you're not going to do it here. And that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Samaras?
Thank you. I certainly will support this motion. It's a good motion. I think there are a lot of issues out there when you talk about the need for curfews. There are a lot of parents out there that would welcome this, because I mean, they will talk to many school principals and they'll say, well, my child's out, stays out all hours, I can't get them in. They are parents who want to do the right thing, but have no control over their children. There are also children who just don't do the right thing, or parents who don't do the right thing. When you talk about 10-year-olds, there are 7-year-olds that are out in the streets today till 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning because there's no one home to care for them. So based on this motion, could we add that a request that the city solicitor and the chief come in to us with some ideas as to how we can best enforce this process? From the city solicitor's standpoint, I know there are a lot of legal issues that we're faced with that tell us why we can't do the right thing. It seems that's the way it is in some cases today. But if you give us some ideas of what we can do, what we can enforce. And I think the chief has been concerned about this for a long time because there are so many young people on the streets after hours, and it's only a matter of time before things that happen that shouldn't happen do happen because of that type of freedom. So two things that I would request that also in support of that motion, that we get some ideas from a legal standpoint and some ideas from a police standpoint as to what our possibilities are, what things we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. This is a good motion. As it's been previously stated, it's really one of the tools in the toolbox to try to deal with public safety in our community. I know Superintendent Taylor is still here. I would request that Superintendent Taylor, when he actually sets up the meeting with the police chief Keys in Chelsea and works with Roker and UTEC, to really see if we can look at the street workers program that UTEC has and what they do in Chelsea and Springfield and how they deal with curfew issues in those communities as well, and try to, bring back a best practice, if you will, from those communities. So I would ask the chief to do that, to work with UTEC, their street workers program, and find out what they do in communities like Chelsea and Springfield dealing with the curfew ordinance. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a good ordinance. I think it's a good motion as well, but I would just point out that the ordinance has been on the books for quite some time, and that given the 2009 decision, it seems to me that really all that we can do with the existing ordinance is to hand out fines to kids, and I'm not sure that they would pay the fines. But I do think that, and I think that the mayor suggested this, that maybe it would be prudent to refer this to the Public Safety Subcommittee, have them work with the police chief, and come up with something that's going to be as effective as possible. And I think that that's maybe what Councilor Samaras was alluding to, as well as Councilor Milonazo. I think the motion is good, but I think the ordinance that we have probably is just isn't that good the way it is now. But that doesn't mean that it can't be tweaked or fixed or made to be more effective than it is now. And I think that that probably is what the mayor has in mind, without speaking for the mayor. And so I would move that we send this motion to that subcommittee and have that subcommittee meet with the police chief and then report back with a better amended ordinance.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
So we need a second for the motion to refer this to public safety?
Yeah, second on the amendment, yep.
Yeah, Mayor.
No, I think that makes sense, because what I do think, and I think what the onus of this ordinance tries to achieve is to, not the onus, what I think the intent was to put the onus on families as well, that you can't just, your kids can't be out to all hours of the morning, that the city is going to require, the responsibility is going to be placed on the family. So I think it's a good idea to send it to, to the Public Safety Subcommittee and the solicitor as well, because it does need to be tweaked a little bit. But I think that's, sending the message out that we are going to start to enforce this again, because this is one way that we are going to protect the quality, the safety, and the quality of life and safety of people in the neighborhoods or the downtown. So I support sending it to the subcommittee, have a further discussion on this to explore it. You know, it was put on the books in '94. It's 20 years ago. Let's take a look at it and improve it, looking at other communities. So I think it makes all the sense in the world to do that. Thank you.
Councilor Belanger, then Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I echo some of the comments of my colleagues that, you know, in many cases, this is, let's face it, some poor parenting that's going on, okay? They should not have their, I know when I was 15, 16, I had to be home by a certain time, and there was repercussions if I didn't. And I know, you know, I was fortunate. I had a stable household, and I understand some of these kids do not. But nonetheless, we can't rely on the men and women in law enforcement to do parenting out in the street, okay? So we need to send a strong message here. If we don't, at that age, it's difficult. I don't think we can lock them up, but can we fine them and attach it to the driver's license? When and if they pursue a driver's license, that's going to have to be paid. There needs to be repercussions for being on the street after 1 a.m., midnight 1 a.m. So I think we're on the right track. I look forward to, I sit on the Public Safety Committee, so I look forward to that discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Mercia.
What I remember about this ordinance back then was that this ordinance of the curfew was created, and if a child, a minor, was picked up after 11, they were brought to the juvenile detention center on Favor Street, and the parent had to come and pick their child up. That's what I remember happening then. So my question is, do we not have a juvenile detention center? Do we not have this process presently activated? I don't know. So if we could have those answers, I don't know if this is still an ongoing thing, but that only made sense. We picked up your child and come and get this child and answer to us as to why you let this kid out like this. So these were good things back then. I don't know why they dissolved, or if they even did. I don't know.
Thank you. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. No, I'd just like to add, I mean, we do know that many of the children who do cause a lot of problems on the streets are from either broken homes or homes that the parents have no control or have no desire to have that control. But I can also recall a number of ministers and priests that came to visit me at the high school, and their concern was the well-being of their children and how so many of their parishioners were losing control of their children. In some, it's second language homes where the parents speak their language from the country that they came from, the children can speak English, and there's a problem in communication which the children start to drive. I think we could add to this with the chief to talk about working with some parental groups as to how to handle this, because a lot of the parents, what they would say is, we go to punish our child or try to keep our child in the home, and if we do anything, and some of our times our own children will turn us into the police or something like that, because you have these cases where many youngsters will say, I can do what I want, there's nothing, you can't stop me from leaving the home, and a parent may want to try to keep the child in the home. These things actually do exist, and there are many people out there that are very confused on how to handle these situations that we are faced with today. So I'd actually like to add another, Chief, if you can possibly speak to some parent groups as to what their concerns are. And I think this is a good motion, and this could add to that motion in dealing with a serious problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Good point. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Motion passes. Hey, Elliot?
Thank you. Next motion of the evening is executive session. Executive session pursuant to exemption 4 relative to the deployment of security personnel and strategies relating to the deployment as a result of the recent criminal activity, as well as exemption 3 to discuss strategy with respect to matters of ongoing litigation, Claudia Duso, and others, public discussion of which could have a detrimental effect on the city's position. We will entertain a motion to go into executive session, then adjourn from executive session. By Councilor Marcia, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. Roll call.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes?
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
9 yeas. Council will go into executive session, and then we will adjourn after that executive session.
No, actually, I think